Hello everyone, RPG Review here, and today I'm going to be going over my top 8 case tournament tearlament lunalight deck profile. One of the biggest allures of lunalight is obviously, I really like lunalight ever since Tiger came back, and even before that I've liked playing the deck. But I feel like it gives lunalight lunalight gives tearlament kind of an extra push to kind of go over the top again. Because it's obviously clearly like the best deck in quotations, but I feel like the lunalight can really push it over the top, and I do want to do a lot more testing with it to see what kind of win conditions I'd like to achieve going first and stuff like that, and going second. There was definitely some last minute changes, like literally it's like seconds before the tournament started. I put something in, and I took something out, and it messed up side patterns a bit, but it worked out in the end, and hopefully I can get a more refined list for you guys eventually. But without further ado, let's just get into it. So starting off with the main deck tearlaments, we have 2 Renoheart. The Lunalight engine doesn't need to know, but it is nice to like normal summon Kaleido Check, just because it's so good. So you really don't want to like open this, especially not in multiples. The one you really want to open is the Shaylin. Like the god combo would be like Shaylin Renoheart, another name, because it means you can start your tearlament plays to like start milling and stuff without your normal, which is really nice. Then the 3 Hobness. Like Hobness is also really good, just because if you're going second, even if this doesn't hit you like a tier name to fuse, you can hit stuff like Lunalight potentially to go plus, or even something like Perfume to set you up nicely on your opponent's turn. Like, there's just so much good graveyard effects in this deck that Hobness becomes really, really good. And then the 3 Merly. I'm considering cutting Merly down to 2. Like, it's really good, especially with like Elf and stuff like that. But like, I lost the top 8 to Mathmech, just because I opened like triple Merly, a Renoheart, and like a spell that didn't do anything. And it's like, cause against like hand trap turbo decks, you're usually siding the second Reno out, like sometimes even a Merly. I don't know if I'd do that going forward, but I did make some last minute changes, as I said, but it did kind of mess up my side patterns. Just because I didn't readjust them for the new list. Even as minor as the changes were, I think I cut down the deck to 40, and cut kind of the more sideable cards. Like, I completely cut the dangers, because I didn't want to, like, get messed up by RNG, because I don't consider myself a particularly lucky person, so that's another big draw of the Lunalights, is they're a lot less RNG reliant than the dangers. And it's like, well, because like Nessie and Mothman are the 2 best dangers, because the 4 and an Aqua. It's like, if you don't open Nessie and you open Mothman, it's always a gamble, especially into the mirror. It's awful. So I just wanted to play something that kind of mitigated the losses of RNG. So that's it for the tearlament names. Onto the Lunalight, we have 3 Kaleido Check. So if you've never seen the Lunalight cards, there's a select few that you play and a select few that you don't. Some people are experimenting with a more fusion-based Lunalight build, or use the Lunalight fusions as well. I don't know how much of a fan I am of that. The extra deck's already really tight. I do want to do some testing with it, because it does look like a lot of fun though. But so Kaleido Check, so it's a once per turn, you can send a Lunalight monster from your deck to the graveyard. Cost, change its name to the name of whatever was sent. So because that's a cost, you can't ash it, and if your opponent Valors it, you're like, okay, cool, I'm still gonna send for cost. Obviously, I didn't be like, oh, well, it sends from deck to grave and then do it, and they Valor it. I'm like, oh, it sends for cost, because that's kind of scummy at like a local place you know everyone. It's like, just be a little more courteous than that. But like, if you're a regional and you really need to get that Valor out of his hand, like, do what you gotta do, gamer. Next up we have 1 Yellow Merton. This should be 2. I couldn't find a second one. I'd probably cut the 3rd Merly for it. Originally I was thinking about, because I just put in like a Galaxy Cyclone for the spot. Originally thinking about cutting Galaxy Cyclone, but Galaxy Cyclone came up in clutch. And I didn't want to talk about some options towards the end for things, but yeah, this should definitely be 2 Yellow Merton and 2 Merly. Just because if Yellow Merton's sent to the graveyard, it can search a Lunalight spell trap. So, okay, I need to point this out now. It cannot search Perfume, because there's a space between Luna and Light. but what it can search out is the archetypal trap Serenade Dance, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's insane if it ends up in the graveyard. One Emerald Bird, or sorry, I didn't even talk about quickly what Martin actually does. So Martin, if it's in the graveyard, you can target a lunalight card you control, return it to the hand, and summon it. Sadly, that is once per turn, like hard once. Otherwise, this deck would be insane. Probably the best deck ever created. It already is, in my humble abode. One Emerald Bird. So this guy, on normal or special, lets you discard a lunalight card for effect to draw a card. You're not really, like, using that effect much, because, the main way you're getting them back on the board negates their effects, but this guy is nice to just like, he's just good to have if you like draw the Serenade Dance and just want to get it to the graveyard and stuff like that. But if he's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target a lunalight monster that's in your graveyard or banished and special summon it, which is really nice for recycling the yellow mark, especially since I only had one. This guy was insane. So like it triggers off redo or stuff like that, keep you alive. If you put like this in a Shaylin under redoer, you're gonna get a fuse. Or you can get the Reborn if you don't want to use her. You already triggered Shaylin that turn through other means. One Black Sheep and one Tiger. Let me explain Tiger first. So, Tiger in the scale, the pendulum. So it says once per turn you can target a lunalight monster in your graveyard. I believe it's level 4 or lower. Don't quote me on that. This is German. My translation is right here. You'd expect me to know what my cards do. Just target a lunalight monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but its effects negated, and it's destroyed during the end phase. So yeah, its effects negated, so you think, okay, cool. So it's like, maybe just like a one little reborn. Collateral sense for cost, so the negation doesn't matter too much. And notice it said once per turn you can, not you can only use this effective Lunalight Tiger once per turn. So that's part of the reason Yellow Martin's so broken, because you can, because like Chick Tiger is insane, it gets you into a lot of stuff, but like Yellow Martin can bounce Tiger, and then you just scale Tiger again and Reborn. So like you scale Tiger, Reborn Chick, Chick send Martin, Martin bounce Tiger, like leak them off or do something with them, scale Tiger, bring back the Chick again. It is really nice. And then the Black Sheep. So this card, it's a 2, which is nice for like elf plays, as well as if it's in your hand, you can discard it to add either a Poly from deck to hand or a Lunalight monster from graveyard to hand. Tiger's the namesake of the deck, and you really don't want it to stick around in the grave. There's other ways to get it out of the grave, but they do require you to have Perfume, because like you could Perfume revive Tiger and then bounce it with Yellow Martin. Stuff like that. Like even if it ends up in the extra deck, you can still do that because Kaleido Chick sends from deck 4 extra to graveyard as cost. So you just send Tiger from the extra deck to the graveyard, and you can Black Sheep it back, or you can revive it and bounce it, stuff like that. And we played on 2 really good monsters to mill. Zephyros, obviously being able to bounce back Tiger, it's insane. And then Snow. A really neat interaction between Snow and Kaleido Chick, because a lot of people don't know that Kaleido Chick has another effect, where if it's banished, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects during the battle phase this turn. So I had quite a few people try to evenly me. So if they said like battle phase, I go, okay, start a battle phase, Snow effect, banish 6 random cards with a Kaleido Chick. You go Kaleido Chick effect, and it says they can't activate cards or effects, so they can't evenly you, which is insane. So it literally just like skips any like battle damage they would have done or any like try and removal during the battle phase. It is just insane at doing that. Really neat interaction. Excuse me. But onto these spells. Obviously the 3 Pellerino. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you know what the Geomet cards do. Not too much explaining on them, and then the Terraforming, of course, to search it. The 2 Tenki. Like, Tenki's not really the most necessary, in my opinion. It is nice to have the consistency needed to keep the deck at 40. I wouldn't know what to cut for them, but these definitely got sided out a bit, just because I didn't know the siding patterns as well as I probably should have, because of the last minute inclusions. But yeah, the 2 Tenki's nice. You're usually searching out Tiger to get it out of the deck before you start milling, or if you already mill it, you can search the Black Sheep. It's just got a lot of versatility. So, the best card in the deck. So, you guys have, I'm assuming, all read Monster Reborn and Rhoda. This is both of them, including the non-once per turn. So, Perfume is activate it, target a Lunalight monster in your graveyard, special summon it. and then you can banish it from the graveyard, discard a card to search for any lunalight monster. So it's like this plus Chick gets you because Chick said Martin, bring it back, banish, search Tiger, stuff like that. It's just really, really good. And even if it's good, even if you mill it, like it's just such a versatile card. I think it's really what pushes the deck over top along with Tiger. The one fusion sub, just because it's searchable, and the extra deck is pretty tight, so you can't really double up on any of the fusions, especially not Cat. So I wanted to guarantee a way to get it back to if I can keep using. Also, it's searchable, stuff like that. Instant, foolish, called by for the cool band. Those are all self-explanatory. The 3 Super Poly, this was originally Droplets, just because I was scared of things like Dweller and I was side decking Super Poly. Because like Super Poly's not that great into the tearlament matchup. Just because like yeah it's a fusion deck, but like they're not really ending on fusions a lot of the time. But then I got deck devied a few times, and I was like, well shit. Alright, I guess I'm just bringing Super Poly so I can try and mitigate that. Galaxy Cyclone, the second Mystic Mine out. Fusion sub's technically a Mystic Mine out if you have the Field Spell, which is really nice. And then the Serenade Dance. So this card is another really, really good piece of lunalight background, searchable off Yellow Martin. So you can banish this from your graveyard, send a card from your hand to grave for effect, and summon a lunalight monster from your deck. It's really, really good. Sadly, it's hard once per turn, so you only play the one. And then the 2 Celiac, keep it at a nice round 40. Some things about the main deck. Some definitely options for the main deck are things like the Gamma package, because this deck really likes to make Redoer, and Lambda is a really good option. That's what I was originally playing, but I decided to cut it for something that we will talk about. They also put the deck down to 40 cutting it, so yeah, and then onto the extra deck, the Tearlament's Fusion, 1 Kit Kat, and 1 Kaleido Heart. Not much to say, you guys should know what they do. Mud Dragon, Dragos Depalia, and Garura. For the fusions, Xyz are pretty standard. You have Dweller and Redoer. A little bit less standard is the Zeus. And the reason I played Zeus is, I forgot to flip these around. My apologies. Is the Bajuti Kagutsochi. So this guy needs 2 level 4 Beast Warriors, which lunalights are all Beast Warriors. So this is kind of how, if you don't really draw like a tier hand, and you draw like more of a lunalight hand, this is how you can get into the tiers. Because this guy says, on summon, mill 5. He doesn't detach, which is a little annoying, so you are kind of, if this is your only line of play, you're kind of praying, but you definitely want to get like a Link monster on the board first before you just make this. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, but as well as this guy's kind of like Fortune Tune, where if it would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material instead, so that's kind of why I played the Zeus, just because, you know, I had a really good enabler. And then onto the links, we have IP, Elf, Dark, pretty self-explanatory. Curious, please don't ban Curious, Snow's way too good. Appaloosa and Oral Sword. So Appaloosa was in here because I know a lot of people are starting to play hand traps against this deck, and like people would wait until the very last second, because I know a lot of people knew I wasn't on Griffin, so they were like, okay, cool, I don't have to worry about like, because they didn't see any like broken spell traps like I did Curious send them. My Curious sent Snow most of the time, so they're like, okay, well it's not going for Griffin plays. So they would wait until the very last second hand trap me, and then they see an Appaloosa hit the board, and they're like, oh, well I guess I can't nip him anymore. And then Oral Sword was originally Trisbania. I ended up cutting it just because I wanted like a way to kill my opponent. But I've been experimenting with Trisbania in the side. I was side decking a time card because it had really high attack points and stuff like that. But I definitely want to experiment with cutting that really high attack point card that's really good when time is called, because its attack points are so high. For Trisbania, just to bring out like Appaloosa against the more back row heavy matchups, because this card is really, really good against back row. Because whenever a monster is summoned to his own it points to, it banishes that monster's and all spell traps on the board, and then burns your opponent for 500 for each of their cards banished. So like if you're hitting like set 5 pass, you're burning for 2500. It is really nice. So that's one of the more like extra deck options. So this deck doesn't really have like a broken floodgate, which is something I was thinking I kind of wanted to do. So it was originally like Ugaras and Spell Canceller. But I ended up cutting it because I wanted to play the Gamma Lambda package because I thought it might be a little better and more consistent being able to play Gamma. And then someone actually hooked me up with the Bujin XZ, so I ended up cutting that for it, just to kind of play a more like well-rounded, like build a board that's like, because usually my board it was like Appaloosa, Elf, Dweller, and Redoer, which is really good. One thing I found is that it was awkward to get a tearlament under Redoer if you were using your Sharon early. But Redoer is still insane, just getting deck knowledge and being able to steal a trap. That never happened, obviously, even when I was playing against 2 Eldritch players in a row. Redoer hit Golden Lord, Glow Up. So first Eldritch player hit Golden Lord and 2 Mystic Mines. The second Eldritch player in top 16, it hit Glow Up Bulb, and I think it hit Baylor Droach. So that was really annoying. It's like, well, you're playing as a trap matchup. Surely you'll hit a trap, right? No, I had just hit the best cards in the. But I do want to experiment with this because I do want the deck to have like a I win button. At least in the side deck. But it does need a bit more experimentation. And another card I was playing for a while was Force Strix. Because this deck, like Zephyros is insane in this deck because it gives you Zephyros Engrave and a Tiger in hand represents 3 level 4s on the board. Just because Zephyros bounces it, and also it's a Darkwing Beast for Curious Lines. And then onto the side deck, it's a bit standard-ish. It's just 3 nib, 3 droplet, just because like stuff like Dweller, and against Mathmech, this is really good. Because you can respond to the Super Factorial summon to negate it with droplets, and that gets rid of the negate as well if you send a monster. 2 Twin, 3 Lightning Storm, 3 a Pointer. Pointer is really nice. It's like, if you win the die roll, a Pointer's probably not coming in, but like, if you lose the die roll, and like you lose game 1 because you just couldn't out their board, a Pointer's really, really good to bring in, but do not bring in a Pointer in time. It didn't happen to me, but I've seen a lot of people a Pointer and then time get called, and they're like, oh no. And then the card I've played, because, sorry, its defense points are really high. It's got a lot more defense than I think Aramage Laurel. I think it might have like a 500 more defense, something like that. The defense points on this card are insane, so I definitely wanted to play it for like when time got called, just because it's got such a high defense. It's really good. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. One thing I kind of wanted to like show was just like the Chick Tiger stuff, because it's like you can normal Chick effects and Yellow Martin, Scale Tiger bring back Yellow Martin, and then usually you blink into like IP, and then Yellow Martin bounce Tiger, summon itself, and then Tiger bring back Chick, and then you make Bujin guy to mill 5. It's just kind of because then if it doesn't hit anything, you can make Elf, and then pass, and then your opponent's turn, Elf can bring back IP, and you can make like Appaloosa that way. So it's like Chick Tiger at the bare minimum does stuff like that. My apologies. It's just really, really solid. It's a lot less RNG based. Like Chick Tiger representing like that board state on absolutely nothing else is so much better than like any 2 dangers. Just because like the RNG aspect of dangers is really, really annoying, and I'm not a big fan of it. And I feel like the lunalights allow the deck to have such a higher ceiling. Because I often found myself like with the Danger build struggling to get the monsters on board to have like a decent end board. And it loses to Dark Ruler a bit more. ish. If you're going for Eradicator, not as much, like Spell Cancer, stuff like that. But, just, like, being able to end on Dweller as well. Like, this just FTKs a lot of decks. Like, tearlament, it's insane. Like, if you can resolve Dweller and have decent follow-up or a decent board state, you're probably gonna win. But yeah, I just kind of wanted something that wasn't as RNG-based to, like, not carry me, but it definitely performed a lot better than I would have with a Danger build. But that's it for the deck profile. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.